I mean, I don't think there's anyone that I've heard ringing into my show now for the past 2 years who said anything like, we're going to stick with the Tory party, we're going to keep voting for them. Almost all of them say, I've voted Tory all my life, or I voted Tory in 2019, I'm not going to do it now. But we're going to ask for all of you out there listening, because we want to hear from more of you. Has anything changed? 0344 499 1000. Will you still consider, just to keep Labour out, voting Tory? But let's talk now to Harry Phibbs. I mean, Harry, how did it get this bad? I mean, Kevin's right, isn't he? Suddenly, 4 years after winning an 80-seat majority, nobody says this much, but it's down to 56 for a start, which is a pretty extraordinary failing, number one. And Rishi Sunak doesn't seem to understand. It doesn't matter how much he thinks he's doing. On the streets of Britain, people think nothing is working.
He's going to be judged by results. And we're going to see, I think the legislation probably will go through now. I think probably the House of Lords will vote against.
It's very optimistic of you.
With this reasonably clear majority in the House of Commons, I think the Commons there'll be some ping pong and they'll push it back, and the legislation will come through. And there's a division really in the Conservative Party between optimists and pessimists as to whether it will be strong enough to get those fights out to Rwanda. But I think that there's a decent chance that will happen, and that if it does happen, if we do have that happening on a substantial scale, it will be a deterrent. I suppose the Conservatives are united in saying that anybody who comes to this country illegally should not be allowed to stay, that we can argue about how generous we should be about allowing refugees in. We can argue about whether it's advantageous economically to have a certain amount of legal migration for particular skills or people on particular wages. But what should be absolutely clear is that for any independent country, it's got control of its borders, and that anybody who comes here illegally is not allowed to stay. Now, I don't think the Labour Party has got that clarity, that resolve. So in one sense, the Conservatives are divided about means to that end. But they're clear on the objective.
I would say